Alright, Cryptids, what is going on? It is me, Mississippi Gonzo Grunch, and this is the Dominator collection. As we all know, the Vapid Dominator is basically Mustangs. This one happens to be those models from 2008 to like 2014. Before they changed up the front end and all the way around. You know, what they called the Cube Mustangs. But yes, I am going to be reviewing all Mustangs, starting with the base model, which is this one. And then we go on up to the bigger ones. But we all know this is kind of an OG car from back in the day. Now it does have power. You know, keep in mind this was but you know, back then the customization wasn't that great. You know, well, by today's standards, the customization ain't that great, but by today, yeah. You know, it's such a shame this car doesn't get any love, but, you know, if you're a low level just now starting out, this is a pretty fast car to get next to the other one. There is another Dominator. It's the Pisswasser Dominator. That one's for free, which I'll be doing that one next. But this was also a car that I did have back on the PS3. I had this one. I used it for racing. Kind of looks like my old one too. All black with red rims. Kind of a throwback, ain't it? To the channel OGs, well, they know all too well that that's what it was. But I know how well this car does not like deep water. But you know, gotta make a little bit of a splash. It's got a whole lot of power in the rear wheels. By a whole lot of power, I mean, you know, for a base model car for in-game, it's got the power. But let it sink in. We have come a long way from this Dominator to the Dominators we have now. The Dominator Asp is pretty dang quick. I don't know how the new one fares in. And some of y'all are asking, well, are you going to do all Dominators? Well, not the convertible one. That's supposed to be like the new Mustang. I'm not doing that one because that just seems kind of overkill. To have the same car twice, but it's a convertible. You know, that's like reviewing the Banshee and then reviewing a topless Banshee, and it's like, it's the same car. Same car twice. So yeah, I'm not doing that. It's also the same with the Virgo. I'm not reviewing the convertible plus the hardtop. That's kind of overkill. Ooh. Yeah, we gotta find new ways around the wall of doom. And there we go, up and over. And I Roscoe'd it. Had to Roscoe it for good measure. Wouldn't be a Roscoe P. Coltrane moment without, you know, something happening. That's it, nice and easy. It is a pretty quick, it is a very quick Dominator. I'll just put it to you like that. It is quick for what it's worth. There she is. But now we move on. As you can see, it's got plenty of get up and go to it. And we floor it. This is one thing I've always liked about this car, is that you could really throw it around dirt roads. I mean, it was just so simple just to throw around dirt roads and not have to worry about anything. But yeah, I also had different rims. You know, I did have muscle car rims, you know, the Cracker rims as they are known. Which are supposed to be like the new American Torque Thrust rims. So yeah, there's that. But other than that, hill climbing wise, it will actually get up. It will actually climb hills very well. I'm pretty sure me and Slade took the Gauntlet and the Dominator up Mount Chiliad once. But yeah, you're going to see a whole lot of references to cars that I used to have, because I had the Buffalo, the Dominator, and the original Gauntlet. I had them. That was back on the PS3 until I started modding in my own crap. So yeah, some of y'all might remember those cars. Funny how we go from having, 3 cars on up to a lot more. Now we can have like up to 100 something cars. Because I got a lot more cars than this. But, in short, will it off-road? Yes. Is it great for, driving around dirt roads and just messing around? Yeah. I got this one because, you can also customize this in the Arena War garage, which I'm going to review that Dominator too. I figured, I might as well get some Arena Wars vehicles just to drive around in. But other than that, I'm going to stop it right there before anything else happens. And on to the next Dominator. Okay, so this is the Dominator GTX, which, if you're wondering why there's no game audio sound, well, for some reason, my OBS decided it did not want to record audio on both the game and through the microphone. Strange enough as it is, I don't know why it did that, but, still. But we all know that this is based off the more newer Mustangs that have come out in recent memory. So, that's what we all know this is based off of, because, hey, this is the Dominator special. The collection, that is. So, I figured I'd go ahead and talk about the customization. The customization is lacking. You think for a car like this, it would have a lot more customization, but I guess not. If I sound hoarse, well, what can I say? It's that time of year where, everything gets bleh. But still, it goes through deep water just fine, and it will climb up anything you throw at it. I honestly think this one's probably going to be the standard GTA 6 Dominator that we get. That's kind of standard, with most GTA games, is that certain vehicles have gotten upgraded over the years. This being one of them. So, such as it is. That's all I really got to say about that, But then again, it doesn't really surprise me that there would be, GTA 6 vehicles and 5, because they already have the assets to most of this stuff, so of course they would add it in. I think they started adding most of this stuff in back around late 2017, early 2018. That's how I noticed when most of this stuff started popping up, is that they already had the asset files for them. Which I will say this, GTA 6 better be a very massive, massive game. Like, it better have like a whole lot of realism details to it. As long as they've been working on it for. However, the story, that might be a little bit questionable. That's a general concern. But yes, this thing will climb up mostly anything you throw at it. It's got halfway decent handling. But I will say this about the handling. I take that back. I'll say this about the handling. The handling on this car absolutely beats out all the other Dominators. I'll just say that. It beats out all the other Dominator and Dominator variants. But yeah, as you can tell, I was trying to get around that, but I guess not. So, I think it's like right after this, I decided, you know what, I'm just going to go back and just jump across. Which I have done that before. Originally, I was going to use this one for a movie, but I opted not to. Just given by how lackluster the performance was. Acceleration, speed. You think this one would have been better, but it's like Rockstar kind of dropped the ball with this one. Granted, you think it would have had better performance, I should say, for that matter. But, that's just what happens. Exhaust sound-wise, it honestly sounds like a pitched-down Dominator. Just a standard Dominator, but pitched down. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure this one will definitely be just a standard street car in GTA 5. Well, not GTA 6, I mean. I don't know why I said 5. Am I looking forward to GTA 6? Kinda. I hope they have tornadoes in it. Tornadoes, hurricanes, that sort of thing. I think it would be nice to be traveling the countryside. It's like, oh, look, tornado warning. It would be nice. On dirt, this thing actually handles nice. See, that's what I mean about the brakes. The brakes, it's like a normal Dominator. Stiff. And there I go, driving like a standard Mustang owner, you know, such as it is. So, climbing up hills, this thing's not a problem. It's got the torque for it. And it's got the torque and the acceleration for it. But other than that, this car will not win you any races by a long shot. You know, sadly enough. But, yeah. That's really the sad part about this particular car, you know. Sad as it is. You know, I feel like they kind of dropped the ball on this one, but, you know, whatever. You know, I think a lot of cars in this game now are priced way too high versus being reasonably priced. But, you know, now we make millions of dollars in a day in this game. You know, close to 10 million in a day if you were to sit down and play from morning all the way till you went to bed that night. You know, minus the few bathroom breaks and, you know, lunch, dinner, or unless you decide you want to go on a water fast that day, then, you know, be my guest. I'm currently on a fast as I am making this video because, you know, most of y'all know my, you know, spiritual nature. I ain't going to question what that sound was, but anyway, computer notifications and all that jazz. But other than that, we will now jump into the very next Dominator video. So, quick. So here I am with the Dominator GT, the more newer, I want to say this is the more newer Dominator that came out. But it is based off of the more current Mustangs, you know, the ones that came out before, like the 13 to 14 models. And this is a convertible, as you can tell by the top. So, I actually got this one because this one was on sale. So, I said, you know what, I'm going to buy one because, you know, this one is actually faster, handles better, and just all around better than the GTX. Which to me made no sense. Plus, that this one has better customization. I'll just say that. Better customization. You know, just better all the way around. As you can tell, this thing's just going up over everything. And yeah, I kind of did put that livery on there because, you know, we all know what these Mustangs are notorious for. Some dipstick with his foot in the floor just floors it and he just absolutely hits people. You know, mind you, I don't want to see people get hurt, but it's like if you're going to drive a car with that much power, at least learn how to handle it. But then again, I've seen videos of guys with Camaros and Dodge Chargers and Challengers, you know, hitting people and spinning out, running into light poles and everything else. So it ain't just, you know, the Mustangs. It's also those other idiots too. Which is funny. You know, occasionally you do see an old muscle car get wrecked. Which, you know, that's a shame, but it's always some boomer. Some boomer jackass driving one of those things. It's like, who was that had that 1,300 horsepower Mercury, and that thing had sticky brakes and the acceleration stuck and they rear-ended somebody? Which, you know, they got all kinds of heat for that. Because it's like, forget the other person we just rear-ended. We're more worried about this car that some boomer jackass didn't bother upgrading the brakes or the handling on. Your first mistake was actually going out to driving that and the acceleration was sticking. But then again, if you're going to build cars like that, upgrade the brakes. You know, that's just any car. If you're going to be running a lot of power, upgrade the brakes. Your wallet will thank you in the long run. Plus that, your insurance company will too. Because, like, God forbid... Well, that's a first. There goes the hood. Ooh, this thing's got a nice Coyote motor off in it. Kind of odd, though. I say Coyote, but it kind of looks like a cross between a Coyote and the new LT motors that they're putting in the newer Chevrolets now. Which is reality, just an upgraded LS motor. And that's the whole thing. Can we, like, look... We all know people LS swap Mustangs. Big whoop. They LS swap everything. But I will say this. This is by far one of my favorite Dominators so far. That reminds me. I got to go review the Dominator GT and the GTT and the Ellie. Because, A, I'm probably going to use both of those for movies. So I got to go review those and put off-road tires on them. Or 2, I just might keep the tires stock because I'm not upgrading the tires again. But yeah, for most of these vehicles, if I'm not planning on keeping them, or I know I'm going to change the rims out later, the cheapest set of off-road tires goes on them. Which happens to be the Raider, sitting around $5,000. You know, because why not? The rims don't make any difference. The tires do. Which, that reminds me, I got to do a video talking about, you know, which tires are really the absolute best. Because I remember I did a test on that years ago, and people were still mad about the test results. But then again, seconds matter in racing. I'll just say that. Hill-wise, this car will climb just about... This car will still climb up anything, and I'm actually going to go prove it in a moment. Yeah, you got to love the livery on this particular Mustang. This Dominator. We all know this is going to be like the standard Dominator that just roams freely in GTA 6. Alright, so here I am with the Dominator FX, which we all know is the classic Fox body design, and particularly the early models from 78 to 86, when they still had the frog lights. Well, that's what they were called. They were called the frog lights. You know, I'm just going by with what I read. But there is a little bit of the old Caprice, the old Ford Caprice, you know, modeling styles in this. But all around it is a Fox body, which I know a lot of guys have been asking for. I mean, we got a G body, so we might as well make a Fox body. And yeah, we all know this is based off of the old King Cobra models that were out in the late 70s. Long John Teabag, I will get to you in a moment. But anyway, such as it is. There is the police car variant, which I might do in this video. Or, you know, such as it is. That reminds me, well, since everything's double RP, double money this week, I might do a bunch of stuff just to get the money for it. Or there is the old tried and true Cayo Perico heist. But yeah, this thing can actually, you know... I remember they originally released this as the Uranus from GTA 4. Which that car is actually coming back, but, you know, more into the true fashion of its rally performance, you know, Caprice model. The Ford Caprice that they made for the European market. But then again, funny enough, Ford releases all the good stuff overseas. You know, like the Caprice, and there's that other one. It was in Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2 it was in the Need for Speed. It was in the Hot Pursuit game on the PS2. But it was originally made for the Australian market. I actually like that one. Which, that reminds me, I probably should live stream that one sometime soon. I just like making videos just to have a backlog of, you know, just to have a backlog, you know, just in case something happens, I can just, you know, put them out. You know, put them out one by one. So, such as it is. Ooh, it's rough. I don't know, I might change up the livery whenever I get out of this, but, you know, I might not. And this one actually climbs up over that log just fine. But I will say this thing's got I actually like how this car feels. You know, next to the Dominator GT, I would say I actually like how this one also feels. You know, in terms of an older Dominator. But it probably wouldn't surprise me if they added in another one that was more based off of the... Well, they kind of had one that was based off of the late 60s model, so I guess not. But who knows, they might make another Dominator. Oh, look, what are we getting in the next update? Oh, look, another Dominator. Which I still say I still say they're going to make a car update for the summer, which, you know, such as it is. Another car update, because, you know... I think they're trying to get the last of the police stuff out already. Which I've been saving up my money for some other police cars. Because I got 3 as it is already. You know, you've already saw me do a review on 2 of them. I haven't done another one on that because that one's going for the... That one's going in the Impaler reviews. So, you know, such as it is. But this is also another fun thing about this car, which I'm not going to take it up any hills, because we all know this thing will climb up just about any hill you throw at it. But it does like the dirt roads. I mean, it just looks magical. You know, you gotta love old cars on dirt roads. They're magical. It's just, you know, it's like that song. Oh, it's magic. Oh, Zampic, and that's me doing a Roscoe Coltrane. But other than that, we're gonna go ahead and jump into the next Dominator review. So. Yeah, let's just go ahead and jump into it and pretend. Sorry, I apologize about that for anybody with sensitive ears. I apologize, but we're going to go ahead and jump into the next one. So let's jump into it. So now we take a look at the Dominator FX Interceptor, which you can tell this is what I got. Now, some of y'all are asking, why are you buying these cop cars? Well, I plan on using them for a movie. Only reason why I get them. You know, but they are fun to drive. I'll just say that. It's something about the cop cars in this game. They're just fun to drive. Like, I just like taking them and, you know, pipe ramping it. And for those of y'all that don't know what a pipe ramp is, that's how they used to flip cars back in the old days. So, yeah. The old pipe ramp, which, you know, it looks spectacular when you see a car hit it and it just rolls over perfectly fine. You do have cannon rolls, but that's a bit different. But we all know this is based off of the SSP Fox bodies that came out back in the 80s. Which, funny enough, you don't see too many of those. You don't see too many of those anymore. You know, you don't see too many of the old... What is it? The old 9C1s? You don't see very many of the old box Chevy 9C1s either. Come on, get up it. Get up. Yeah, that's probably going to be a problem. I should have kept it more to the right, but, you know, I'm going to go ahead and just slide this back down. This is probably going to be the longest off-road review I have ever done. Why? Because it's all Dominators, unless we get more, but I highly doubt that we will. You know, unless they decide to make one that's like a first gen, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. But, you know, they'll definitely add these into online, but, you know, still. Yeah, for those of y'all wondering why don't you take it through deep water, well, a lot of cars don't like deep water in this game, especially the newer ones, because they tend to act weird. So, yeah. I got a bunch of other off-road review collections I need to do, because I'm doing one on the Ballista. I need to finish the other one, and that's the one on the Patriot. So there is that. I probably won't do one on the Canis because those are already difficult enough to obtain. But, you know, I do have a thumbnail for the Merriweather Mesa, so that's a good thing. But this one I still have yet to make a thumbnail for, so I'll probably find a Dominator and just use that, because parts of it was filmed in story mode and, you know, the rest of it was filmed in online. Why? Because I'm too lazy to get a trainer. But, you know, I will say this one I would say has way more acceleration than the standard FX. It doesn't have the torque, but it has the acceleration. Probably not a good idea to hit that. I better not hit the R. Don't hit R3 if you're using controller. Because even though this is a cop car, you really don't want to have to go deal with Vincent. Yeah, this has been rather difficult. Okay, now I know how to get across. Well, at first you don't succeed. Sometimes you just gotta wonder, well, what would Bo Duke do? Well, he would do this. Swing it. Swing it and aim. See, just like that. And that's in the trees. Alright, let's not anger the Lorax. Don't worry, some of y'all will get that joke if you made it this far into the video. You know, I probably should go back and add key chapters, just so that way you're not sitting here wondering, Well, which one's which? Yeah, sometimes I do that. But then again, you know, so what? There are going to be a couple of these where I don't change out the wheels for off-road tires because I have no money at the moment. I blew it all buying cars. That's a bad habit I have in this game, just making a whole lot of money and then just go blowing it on cars. But then again, I do buy a lot of cars for making movies, which, you know, we're going to be making those again, so we're excited for that. Now then, you know, I wish there was a little bit more customization, but I don't think these ever came with push bars. But yeah, this one actually does have some very unique lighting options. But yeah. So I am planning to do a lot more with this. Just a lot more. That is new. Swing that around and try to avoid it. Which I will say, those park rangers are way more tougher than your standard run-of-the-mill cop rangers. Those things are tough. I mean, they'll take on water better than anything else. But, as you can tell, so far, I mean, I will say this. Most of the Dominators do love dirt roads. So they're perfectly fine. Now you can see why I plan on using this for movie purposes. Because, you know, cop cars wrecking is just magical. You know, of course we all want to see a cop flip the car and, you know, wreck it. You know, see the guy driving the getaway car get away. Because that's what's fun. You know, guy driving the getaway car, he makes a sharp turn. Cop flies off the curb and goes into the water. Or two, the cop hits a pipe ramp and, you know, he rolls it. You know, that's what you want to see. Spectacular. But then again, most of us grew up watching them old cop shows from the 70s. And I'm talking about the ones where, you know, it's like detectives driving, you know. Well, T.J. Hooker, that's a bit different. T.J. Hooker, trying to think of which one. Starsky and Hutch, that's another one, which, you know, hopefully they'll add in a Gran Torino sometime in 6, or, you know, go ahead and add it. Because that would actually be fun to have. But, off-roading wise, it is actually that gray, and I Roscoe'd it. But, we're going to go ahead and cut to the next one, because I'm an idiot, apparently. So here we are with the Vapid Ellie. As you all know, it is Eleanor. From the 2000 version of Gone in 60 Seconds. And yes, I say that version, because A, there was another version before that one, and that was the original 1974 version with Toby Hallecky. Which, that one's also good. If you haven't watched it, go see it. I'm pretty sure there's a full version available on YouTube somewhere. But, I remember when this car came out, I was actually excited, because it's like, yay, we get another muscle car that's based off of a Shelby GT500 from 67, I believe. But why would I include it in the off-road review for the Dominators? Well, because it is Dominator-esque. Which you're going to see when I start adding certain vehicles into certain stuff. It makes sense. So you have that. Ooh, she got some torque. But I will say this. I absolutely loved having an Ellie because, you know, it could be, you can turn these into resto mods. Like, yeah, I have a lowered suspension and, you know, street tires on it, but I wanted it to look like Eleanor. Which, will I be using one of these for a movie? Yes. If you see me use any type of vehicles like this, just go ahead and assume it's for a movie. Why? Because why not? You know, plus that, you know, I don't really do custom license plates. I got some for certain vehicles, but yeah. You know, vehicles like this, it's like, no, I just want to have a standard license plate, just so that way it gives it a sense of realism. So you have that. You have that. You have a lot of stuff, really, with these, cars. Which, you know, such as it is. And I will say it does have a very unique stance. Very unique to itself. But, you know, there's some cars in the game that look great slammed to the ground. But then you have some, it's like the suspension is barely even notched. This one, on the other hand, I do like how it sits. You know, compared to my other Dominator, the GTT, which that one's going to be used in a movie in and of itself. I'm just going to go ahead and jump across because I'm lazy. Because there might be a little bit of a problem around the Wall of Doom, which a lot of cars seem to, you know, pass out at. But yeah, some people are going to be like, but you're not using off-road tires or a stock suspension. Well, I'm also a master at off-roading in this game, so yeah. Well, like, believe me, there was times me and Slay would go into public lobbies just to get people to chase us down Ratton Canyon, and they wouldn't touch us, and we'd be in cars like this. Or two, I'd be in the old black Zentorno. Gotta watch that deep water. Yeah, I do know that this car did not like deep water way back in the day. It just didn't. And yes, the only reason why I use the only reason why I use the Ratton Canyon is because it's a in the middle of the road type off-road spot. It's got everything I need to test it, and I will get to you in a moment, Franklin. So here's something else. See how it handles on dirt? Now, mind you, I got my hand in it so far. That was me being a dipstick. But yeah, too bad they didn't give us much to, you know, fix the motor with. Because I mean, this thing would actually probably be good with engine options. You know, like change out the air filters in the blocks. You know, all that sort of jive. Because if you actually look at it, that's the same one they got in the Dominator. But, you know, such as it is, you know, I'm not complaining. You know, it could have had a little bit more customization, but, you know, such as it is. I try to get it as close to Eleanor as possible. But that's kind of the fun part. Kind of the fun part is trying to get it there. But, such as these things are, off-roading wise, it's halfway decent. But rally-wise, I recommend getting it. But, you know, you get this car because, you know, you like Eleanor. You know, you collect movie cars in this game. I happen to have a few garages that are nothing but movie cars. But I really need to start organizing them better. Yeah, I really need to organize my off-road car garages and, you know, just get that. So I'm going to go do that, but we're going to go ahead and jump into the very next Dominator. So here you go. So now we look into the Dominator GTT, which is the 69 Mustang, Boss Mustang that is. As to what engine options that it would have been, well, it could have been several different ones. But, you know, I'm just going by the appearance and, you know, what different GTA vehicle websites say. But yeah, this one I actually use for auto shop robberies. And why is it painted red with the classic Boss Mustang stripes? Well, because I'm also going to use this one for a movie. Kind of a bullet, you know, driver crossover. I haven't worked out the details on that one, just different stuff alone. But yeah, this one I actually do recommend getting because it can be used for auto shop robberies. It is on the pricey side, so do save your money to get it. I try to save up at least $2 million because some of these cars ain't cheap. But I do tend to go on ahead and roid them out. People used to complain about that in the car battles. It's like, why don't you just go on ahead and max them out? Well, if I can review them stock or with mods, then so be it. And this is a tuner car, so it does also count. I want to say it is a tuner car, so it does count in tuner races. But yes, also, inside, as you can tell, roll cage and everything. But whenever you look at it, you can see parts of it, but, such as it is. Because I do plan on using this for some gnarly stunts for that particular movie. And, I like a sense of realism. It was also kind of funny when you would see the inside shot of the car, you could see the roll cage. Or even after they would roll it, you would still see the roll cage. But, gotta have roll cages in doing stunts. Why? Because that's how you keep everything moving. It's how you keep it all moving. You know, such as these things are. But I will be getting, getting around to finishing up all the other off-road collection videos. It does climb. It does climb, I'll give it that. And do keep in mind, I did not change out the wheels and tires on this. You know, some people tend to complain, but money. Changing out wheels and tires can be expensive. I tend to keep one set of wheels on because why not? You know, unless I know I'm going to review the car, then yeah. Okay, so now that I'm back, there was a little bit of a audio problem. And apparently it happened right as I hit the wall of doom, so yeah. Car kind of went into the water. I heard something static out, and then I had to go check, and apparently something got resetted. So, I'm going to try this again. Yeah, you got to jump across the wall of doom with this one. That's the other thing, too. I will say this. I did have off-road tires on this when I started, because I did actually ended up recording this beforehand, but, audio problems happened, so I had to get rid of the footage. And, these type of things happen. But I will say this, even with off-road tires, this thing can still spin out. Which that does happen. But if you can keep its momentum, it can go. Now, in terms of it being... I put this in the top 5 of the auto shop robbery vehicles. Because it's that good. But, some people are going to complain, I can't use it. It's not quick enough. That sounds like a skill issue. Because, A, it really shouldn't matter. You can outrun just about anybody if you know how to drive. Let that be a little bit of a secret. But I will say this. I'm going to go back down because I already know this. I already know most cars in this game can climb hills regardless of what you throw at it. But, regardless, it can take to the dirt very well. That's what I like about it. I just absolutely enjoy sliding this around dirt roads. Hey, let's do some Dukes of Hazzard level shenanigans and just send old muscle cars down dirt roads. But, some people will complain about that. It's like, those cars aren't meant to doing that. What the hell did you think they were built for to start with? Some of y'all's grandparents and uncles had these back in the 70s and 80s, and they were flooring these things around every dirt road they could throw it on and doing burnouts in the parking lot and, going to pick up your grandmas and your aunts. But, still. That's what these cars were for. General foolishness. But I'm going to go on ahead and call it an end to this one, because I already know this thing can climb any hill you throw it at it. Off-roading wise, do watch the traction. That is my only complaint about it. Watch the traction, but other than that, it's a great all-around car. So I'm going to go on ahead and let's just go on ahead and jump into the final off-road review vehicle for the Dominator. So, jump. Arena War Dominator. Kind of looks like the one off Death Race. But, I have seen the original Death Race, but I did not watch the new one outside of seeing parts to it. And I hit a bush. Okay, that's the one thing I've noticed about this car is how it's heavy. It's heavy and it understeers a lot. Definitely one of these cars you just send forward in a straight line. But yeah, for those of you wondering, did I put this stuff on here intentionally? No, originally I didn't, but I accidentally bought it while competing in some Arena War stuff. So that kind of does lead to a little bit of problems. Because, this thing is heavy armored reinforced. You can tell it's got understeer. It's got quite a bit of understeer to it. So, I would recommend being careful with one of these. But I did get other Arena War vehicles locked. And by locked, I mean already bought and customized. Now, that's just all I'm going to say about it. There is that one Arena War vehicle I do want because it's the car from Mad Max. I've seen Mad Max enough. Do I care for it? Not really, but I do enjoy watching it from time to time. But, I'm not like diehard, Mel Gibson, Mad Max, Interceptor, for the win. And it's like, no. Great movie for the car stunts. You know, that's all I got to say about it. You know, that's going to make some people mad, but still, not everybody's going to enjoy it. But, you know, such as these things are. I still need to get a couple of other vehicles for reviewing purposes. But I also got to go grind some money just so that way I can finish doing a couple of, you know, a couple of other off-road reviews that I got planned out. You know, I got the Yuga, well, the Yuga, you know, however you pronounce it. That one's almost done. But I will say this, I kind of wanted an Arena War vehicle, you know, ever since Arena Wars happened. I know some people tend to complain about Arena War, but such as it is. See, that's what I mean. You can feel the understeer through the controller. That's wild. You can really feel the understeer in the controller. And I did not have up enough speed to get that across. You know, this thing's got some crazy suspension travel, and it's still bone stock. But yeah, this is actually the Dominator that I started out with. Well, by started out with, I mean, you know... Yep, get across. I want to say that I did record the first half of this video in online. Or the whole video is recorded in online. I don't know, because this stuff takes a while to record. I'll just say that a lot of this stuff takes a good long while to record. Will I dare attempt this? I better not. Okay, I'm just not going to dare attempt... I'm just not going to dare attempt, you know, going across that foolishness. All just because, A, I don't want to, you know... Arena War cars are expensive when the insurance comes out. It's got the torque. Come on, get up it. Nah, it doesn't. Well, crap. I guess we got to go back the way we came. You know, such as these things are, you know, it's bound to happen. But yeah, I'm not dare going to take this across the wall of doom. You know, you got to make a judgment call. You know, be smart. You know, there's some people like, well, you're not a real off-roader if you don't do that. That's no different than saying you're not a real biker if you don't do, you know, if you don't do X, Y, and Z. If you say crap like that, I know for a fact that you're not real. You're just an idiot. Oh yeah, by the way, that's the other thing too. Heavy plow. And yes, this actually does pop off the back part of it. I want to say it's called the tombstone. You know, such as this is. I will say this, to really get this to move around dirt roads, do let off the gas and just, you know, floor it. Let off the gas and right as it gets to turning, floor it, but feather it. Throttle feathering will be your friend. But, you know, still, most vehicles will still get across up here just fine. You know, most cars in this game can climb hills, you know, relatively moderate hills at that. You know, as long as you don't go, you know, balls to the wall crazy and, you know, you're going to send it up an 85-degree rock face, then, you know, you'll be fine. But there's some vehicles, they do better than others. They really do better than others. But this one, yeah, I'm going to end up keeping this one because I kind of want to use it for another movie that I got planned out. Which, I'm going to do that. You know, as for the movie that's planned out, is it going to be a death race style movie? I haven't gotten that far yet. Only the title. And I don't reveal titles because I don't want people knowing what I'm working on. Because, you know, that's how stuff happens. See, there goes that understeer yet again. Yeah, that's the one thing about it. Understeer, yeah. And I know some of y'all saying, well, you should have just taken the back and the scoop off. Well, it's expensive to take off and expensive to put on. So if you put it on, you might as well keep it. I don't think I have any weapons on this car, come to think of it. Even though this car can take weapons. There's still quite a bit of off-road vehicles I need to get. Well, Arena Wars vehicles I need to get. The Cerberus is one of them. I know LWD Crazy Man, he's working on getting one because he's like, hey, let's use this for the new dual truck. And I'm like, Logan, you're a genius. Because I was thinking the exact same thing. Or two, just keep it original and, you know, just use the black truck like we used to do. Because, you know, I got both. But, you know, the crazy trucker films, you know, those are always fun to do because we could just be absolutely stupid, you know, like that. So here we have the Dominator Asp, which is, you know, we all know what it's based off of. It's based off of the old Terminator Cobras that came out back in the 2000s. In particularly 2003 to 2004, but you can make this look very unique to you. You know, funny enough, I actually wanted a Terminator Cobra back in the day. I almost came close to grabbing one because nobody really wanted these cars anymore. Now everybody wants 30 grand for one. But I'm not going to get into the story about how I almost came across, you know, these cool collectible muscle cars and, you know, I almost got them because, well, I'm not. Slade knows the story behind it, Diesel knows, Logan does, and so does some of the channel OGs. But I'm saving that topic for some other time. But, you know, this car does have a whole lot of power behind it. It is quick. It's one of the fastest tuner cars out there. I'll just say that. And I lost my hood. Okay, this thing, you see what I mean by this thing has a whole lot of power? Yeah, do watch the throttle because this thing is touchy. And I will say this thing will hook on any road you throw it on. It hooks on the dirt, it hooks on asphalt, it transitions very well from dirt to asphalt. And that's even without the off-road tires on it. I just put the off-road tires on the off-road review because they grip better. They grip slightly better, but I'm planning on using this for a different purpose. For my auto shop robberies. Because I got this one, but I also have the Dominator GTT. But I'm also using some of these vehicles for movie purposes. Will this one be used in a movie? Probably. Because I'm going to go back and change some stuff around because, you know, Rockstar really does somewhat of a ass-tier job of symmetrical bumpers. I couldn't answer that. And I don't care to answer it. But yeah, I'll say this. The guys that drive these cars hunt demons and hellcats on the daily. If somebody has one of these cars, I guarantee you that's what they do. They go out and they hunt hellcats and demons. It's the same with those guys who drive those Trailblazer SS's, because those things are like, those things that those guys are walking around the racetrack going, well, the drag strip going, where them hawks at? Where them hawks at? And if it ain't them, and then it's those guys that drive those LS swapped S10s. And beware of the guy that he has one of those, but it's all-wheel drive. So you know he's hooking that thing crazy. This one might be a little bit different to hook up. But this one, unlike the drift cars, actually has... You know, this one has the right amount of torque, but also the right amount of power behind it. There's some vehicles in this game, they got great torque, but they're, you know, they just have a whole lot of difficulty hooking. But this one will hook on any road you throw it on. Because I have played around with this, even, you know, even in just races where I just race cars bone stock. This one will actually beat customed out tuner vehicles. And that's saying something, that a car is this powerful. I made a mistake. Oh well, I made a mistake. Mistakes happen on this TV show. Well, you know, you get the point. But yeah. And that's where we're at. And I will say this thing absolutely does climb hills. And quick, I should mind you. I absolutely love using this car, but I've been using my Buffalo STX as of recent. Because that one is really quick. Very quick. But yeah, this one, like I said, this one will absolutely hook down any dirt road you throw it under. It's got a good set of brakes, which that's a big plus in this game. You need a good set of brakes. especially if you need to make a quick getaway from an oppressor, which I'm very grateful to have that. But, you know, I also keep, well, I'm in a invite-only session. But I do tend to keep a flare gun equipped just so that way I can shoot the missiles back at them. It's like, what do you mean by shoot the missiles back? Trust me, just play around with that flare gun, and when you see that missile come in, have that flare gun equipped, shoot it back. The missile will always follow the flare. And it's hilarious, especially if it's like multiple missiles coming at you, they will all follow it. Which drives oppressor players up the wall, or even people that, you know, play around with Deluxos or any other, you know, cars with, or any other James Bond level crap we got in this game. But that's beside the point. You know exactly what I mean. But I absolutely, you know, like, I absolutely love this car because, hey, it is one of my favorite Mustangs. Which, I'm not one of those guys that really cares about the Ford versus Chevrolet argument. I've said that before. I don't care for the argument. I think it's ignorant. You know, to me, a car is a car. And plus that, it really depends on how you build it. Because, you know, and even then, the whole Chevy versus Ford thing, it is ignorant. You know, just like everything, you know, just like every other car culture nonsense, it's all ignorant. But when it comes down to the Mustang, I do like the first generation of Mustangs, but I also like, you know, this one. It's like certain Ford vehicles that I like. I wish they'd actually gone ahead and add in a 1971 Galaxy, you know, as a police car, just so that way I can make it look like the one off of, you know, what's that Burt Reynolds film? White Lightning, that's the one. The brown lightning off of that. So there's that. But you see what I mean by this thing will hook to the dirt. It is absolutely a monster. And like I said, really good brakes. Or not. We're going to pretend like that didn't happen. Granted, if you hit the brakes before stopping. But, you know, inertia is a thing. Inertia is a very powerful thing. See? Okay, now you want to stop instead of locking up. I really need to get a new controller. But other than that, you know, this has been the collection of the Dominators. Now, I decided to do one big collection series versus individual because I don't want to spend too much time making off-road reviews, but, you know, you get the point. And this has been the review of the Dominator Asp. Great car. It's actually, you know, if you want this, then feel free to get it. You know, I recommend using this for the big, you know, the auto shop robberies, because this thing will get away from the cops easily. But, you know, such as it is. Shoot the like button with a grip skiddly if you enjoyed it. And please do comment down below anything. You know, what's your favorite Mustang? You know, favorite generation of Mustang. Since this is a Dominator video, let's talk about it. What's your favorite Mustang of all time? So other than that, you know, do smash the subscribe button today and click the notification bell icon to stay up to date whenever I go live or whenever I upload more videos. But other than that, have a great day and a balling weekend, and remember, don't do anything stupid. And, you know, don't be like the rest of the Mustang drivers where you just hook it, where you just try to hook it and you send it into light poles, crowds, and other nonsense. So other than that, y'all take care.